Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Inside Russia. My name is Konstantin, and I am streaming live from the south of Russia, giving you news, updates, and tell you how it is to be living in today's Russia. Thank you very much for joining. Tell you how it is to be. It's going to be a very unusual message today. Not even a message. I would like to share something personal with you and something very unusual. Like I have said many times before, my messages are born somewhere deep inside of my heart, and once I start analyzing everything, once I go over news of what is happening in Russia every single day, every single hour, and the news are plentiful these days, and once in a while, I see something that kind of creates a spark. And I hang on to that spark and I start thinking, I start developing. And then all of a sudden, boom, a message, a topic, an information to share is born just like that. And this is what happened today. I'm going to be talking about Stephen King and how he is influenced many Russians and how he is connected to Russia. Stephen King, the author of awesome horror books. Horror, I would say masterpieces, not even books. By the way, a quick question to all of you. Do you know how to survive in Stephen King's universe? Do you? That's actually very simple. You've got to stay away from the state of Maine as far as possible, and you're gonna be all right. Well, shall we? Mommy and Lorna giving me 5 by 5. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you a few things today. I'm going to tell you my personal relationship with Stephen King masterpieces, books, stories. I'm going to tell you what they are about in my mind, in my opinion, and I'm going to tell you why I am thanking Stephen King and for what. And I'm going to tell you what kind of a world I think I am living in right now. So let's do it. You know, my story is actually very strange. I was growing up in the USSR, and basically all I did, I read. I read books. Because books were my window into the world. I was so curious by nature, courtesy of my father, my mother, and perhaps my grandparents. I was very curious, and as the only information I could get about life and from outside world were the books. So I read, and mind you, not too many books were available in the USSR. It was a huge deficit, shortage of books. It was a highly sought after commodity. So I read every single book that I could get my hands on. In about, I would say 1992, 1991, something like that, I think I was going to high school. I was the senior in high school. I saw a new book I hadn't seen before, a new author. The author's name was Stephen King, and the book was called Salem's Lot. In Russian, Yerusalimov Udel. I was like a vacuum cleaner at that time. I was just sucking all the books, all the information I could get. So I had some extra money. Books weren't that expensive back then, and I bought Salem's Lot. I read it in one day. That book I liked very, very much. vampires. It's a very Stephen Kingish vampire story, you know. Uh, Fairly basic book, but awesome, awesome plot. And I read it. I couldn't understand anything about the book, where the setting were somewhere in the United States, in some small town. And that was it. I didn't know the names. I didn't know the towns, the streets. How could I? I was in the USSR. So I have good memory, so I liked the book and I remembered it quite well. Fast forward just a couple years, I went to the USA to study. Originally, I went for 1 year, and then I ended up spending 3 more years at the university and quite a few more years just living and working. And once I got into the USA, I ended up in southern Maine, in the city of Portland, Maine. And I arrived 1996. My eyes were this big. I was looking around, and there was new world opened for me, and there was so much of everything interesting around. My roommate Johnny, he said, "Well, he was a Mainer, born and raised in Maine." He said, "Have you heard of Stephen King?" And I was like, "Chiching, yes, I have. Author, writes books." He goes, "Yeah. He's a Mainer, by the way. He lives in Bangor, Maine." And I was like, "What? Stephen King?" I couldn't link at first. I thought it was a mistake, a different Stephen King. And I actually went. I got a book and I researched, or I don't remember. Went online. Internet was just at the beginning. And yes, there was the same Stephen King that I read back in Russia. He actually was a Mainnah, born and raised in Maine, between Maine and Colorado, and he lived in Maine. And he's probably the most famous Mainer in the world. The amount of fame he has in Maine is actually quite unbelievable. It seems like every single person who lives in Maine knows someone who knows Stephen King. It seems like every other Mainer has seen Stephen King at least once in his life. Every Mainer knows where Stephen King lives. Stephen King is larger than life in Maine, and I was kind of thrown into this reality, and I was like, wow, that's quite a coincidence. Back then, I actually believed in coincidences, right? So, I figured, hey, you know what? I should read this book again, Salem's Lot, and I should watch the movie Shawshank Redemption, because they told me it was also written by Stephen King. And it was one of my most favorite movies, hands down. Even before I had come to the United States, I loved that movie with Morgan Freeman. And I took the book and I started reading it, and I could not believe it. The book actually takes place in southern Maine, a fictional town of Salem. That's right outside north of Portland. The actual town exists. It's called Gray, Maine. I was absolutely amazed. Stephen King is so good in describing real places in his books. Like you read about main character driving through southern Maine. As he enters Portland, what route he takes, what buildings and companies he passes. And all of a sudden, I started reading and I started recognizing places. I couldn't believe it, okay? That's how my initial love with Stephen King was born, and then I decided to read more. And of course, in the United States, the only books you can get are in English, or at least in Maine. So my next book was The Stand. Questionably, one of the best work of King. And I got it at a Salvation Army bookstore. Well, not bookstore. Salvation Army had some books. I remember I picked it up for 99 cents. 1,200 pages, big. I literally learned English reading that book. I had two books. One was actually The Stand. Another one was English dictionary, Oxford Dictionary. And every single word that I couldn't understand, I didn't know, I actually would look up in a dictionary. I would write it down. I would memorize it. And I learned how to speak English, more or less, with help of The Stand. The next book was It, and pretty much all of the books followed. I read so much of Stephen King. I absolutely loved every single work. I actually don't remember anything of Stephen King that I didn't like. His books are amazing. His stories, not books, but stories are amazing. I could see how he was evolving as a writer. He started out as a very good, but like a regular kind of writer. But then his latest works are masterpieces. I kid you not. If you haven't read latest books by Stephen King, you should. Because in my eyes, I'm not joking, all right? I've read a lot. You can call me a bookworm or a book expert because I've read thousands of books, okay, in my life. I've read Russian classics. And, Russian classics are very philosophical, so to speak, and they're very widely known all over the world. So, latest works of Stephen King, my friends, I put on the same level as Dostoevsky and Chekhov. They were writing a little about different settings, but the idea is pretty much the same. You stick for a few minutes. I'll explain later what exactly I mean by that. Have you read The Revival or Mr. Mercedes or 11/22/63? If you haven't, you should, because you're going to have a pleasure reading these books, okay? They're just Stephen King has become world's top writer. A new classic, okay? He is absolutely fantastic. One of my, if not my most favorite author, hands down. Stephen King is fantastic. The thing is, it is very known opinion that Stephen King writes about horrors only. He sure does write a lot about horrors, but not just, or not quite. Not quite. Stephen King is, well, he writes, he studies human soul. He studies humans. He bases his stories on our fears and the horrors that are in his books, right, in his stories. They are our fears. He merely describes our fears. And he studies human soul, but in his study, many people do that. Many authors write about human soul, but he goes the deepest. He goes to the level where very few, perhaps none of the people have gone. He goes down to the fears and the horrors. This is deep, okay? He goes beyond philosophy because one of our very basic and very oldest feelings is fear, primal fear. And he's playing with that. Of course, he's not the only one who writes horrors, okay? For example, Bram Stoker, the classic. Richard Matheson, H.P. Lovecraft. There are some other writers that actually write horrors, but those writers are about horrors. Stephen King is about us, and horrors is just a setting. Stephen King's books. Now, I'm talking my opinion, right? In my humble opinion, I think that Stephen King books, stories, when you read them, sooner or later, you get down to this. They are about making a choice. They are about facing our fears. They are about the good and the bad that exists in every single one of us. It's about the struggle of the good and the bad, the good and the evil. It's about facing the fears. It's about learning about yourself, and it's about making a choice. His questions that he asks, well, he doesn't ask, but the questions of his stories are so deep. There are like, where do our fears come from? What is real and true friendship? What do you do when you have to make the most important decision in your life? Questions like that, All his stories are about making personal choice. He basically writes about facing our fears, identifying your fears, learning about our fears, understanding our fears, taking actions, and overcoming our fears. That's why his books are absolutely awesome, and they sell in such large quantities. He's one of the best-selling authors in the world, one of the best-selling authors in the world. Now, what does Stephen King have anything to do with Russia or with me? Like I said, Stephen King is one of my most favorite writers of all time. Stephen King is kind of a dear person to me because I am a Mainer. I consider myself a Mainer, although I was not born in Maine. And he's also a Mainer. I missed him a few times. I almost met him. He was at the book signing, his new book signing, at the place called large bookstore called The Borders in Maine Mall in South Portland. I missed him by like half an hour. I think I did that twice. I had a couple people who knew Stephen King and who I know, and they promised me to introduce to Stephen King, but if the occasion would come, but it never worked out. So it's too bad. It's too bad I didn't meet him. But then again, what would I say? That I'm a fan? Not the end of the world that not met him, but it would have been nice. Now, Stephen King announced that he's done with Russia. He is the best-selling author in Russia, in today's Russia. Yes, you heard me right. He sells more books in Russian Federation today than any other author. Classic, non-classic, whatever. He is number one. Right after the start of Russia's military operation against Ukraine, a few days after, he announced that he will not publish his works in Russia any longer. Basically, he, like many Western companies, he's not a company, he's a writer, but he announced that he didn't want to be associated with Russia. He didn't want to do anything with Russia any longer. Today, there was a news that his latest book, I think it's called, Billy Morrison or something like that. Anyway, this latest book is supposed to be published, and it's going to be the last one. And that's it. And I have a feeling that Stephen King has left Russia for good. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling I have, Now, Stephen King has affected me in a good way, in many, many good ways. His works have touched me so deeply. They have brought quite a few questions. I have thought about my own fears. Every time I read a book by Stephen King, every time I saw the dilemma, the moral choice of main character or characters that they were facing, and they needed to make that choice, I would project it onto myself. Every single time that I learned a fresh idea from his book, I would think about it and, would analyze what's inside of me. He's one of the very few authors who actually, his works have had such an effect on me. I know for sure that I am not the only one. He's touched many, many Russians. His works are so madly popular here, and I'm not the only one who thinks about moral choice, who thinks about personal fears, who thinks about making personal choice. I'm not the only one. So if I were to meet Stephen King now, I would love to thank him. I would say, thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you for coming to my country in the early 90s, introducing your works to me and my comrades, sharing your works with us, letting us enjoy your works, staying with us for 30 years. Thank you so much. You have made my life and life of many people around me much, much better, more colorful, more meaningful. Thank you. I am very, very sorry that you are forced to leave my country. I am really ashamed that decisions that my country makes make people like you leave my country and not associate yourself with my country anymore. I'm deeply ashamed by that. I would like to tell you that your universe all of a sudden came alive in my world, in the place where I live. All of a sudden, I found myself facing fears. Not just made up fears that something I can read in the books about, but real fears, actions of some people with very, very firm results. All of a sudden, all those moral questions that your characters ask themselves and the society, well, at least quite a few of them, are here. We are asking them these questions here in Russia. All of a sudden, we're facing our fears. They have materialized. This is not reading a novel anymore. That's reading life. That's living life. All of a sudden, I and many people around me, we just like your characters, we have to make moral choices. We have to identify fears. We have to understand the origins. We have to face them. We have to make actions and we have to overcome. So, again, thank you so much. Please forgive us and know that your universe is alive in Russia. And we now are your characters. And we are trying to fight our fears. That's pretty much what I wanted to tell. I'm going to turn on the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you know who Stephen King is. Let me know if you've read his books. I would love to answer if you have questions about Stephen King, about his works. If, I would love to answer them. And let me know what you think of the message. This really is not a message, but this is something that came straight out of my heart. I hope I delivered it correctly, but just as the best as I could. Thank you so much. I would like to turn on the live stream chat now, but before I do that, would like to remind a few rules that we have here. They are: common sense is the king, no snide crude remarks and or hostile comments, no crude usernames, English only, no trolls, and this subscribers only. And there are certain topics that I don't want you to ask me about or try to inform me. They are everything concerning Ukraine, everything referring to actions of the Russian army and Ukrainian army in Ukraine, number of casualties in Ukraine and in the Russian army, and criticism of Russian leadership. There are other platforms and other times to talk about that. Not here, not now. Everything else is okay. So let me turn on the chat. Before I start reading the comments, I'd like to tell you a little personal story. I lived in Portland, Maine, on a main street called Congress Street for about a year. I lived in a dorm of my university, and reading one of the interviews with Stephen King, a major magazine, something like GQ or something like that, Stephen King was asked, what is the scariest place on earth you've been to? And he answered, Joe's Smoke Shop, Portland, Maine. And Joe's Smoke Shop was right next to me, not right next to my dorm. And, that was funny. I think he was joking, but, the place was right next door. And this was a known fact in my dorm. As soon as I checked in, people told me, oh, welcome to, Congress Street dorm. We're living right next to Joe's Smoke Shop, the scariest place on earth, according to Stephen King, That was funny. Good to see comments. It means I didn't mess up this time, and everyone, not just sponsors, can leave their comments. Unlike yesterday, I apologize, as it was on the go, and things usually happen when I am on the go. Reese is number one today in the comments. Mommy, Harry, Bruce, Robert, Sylvia, Lorna, Xavier, Ellen, Reese, first super chat. Hello from Canada, Mr. Popular. Stephen King is a great author. The films that have been adapted from his stories are some of the best horror classics. Too bad about the Maximum Overdrive movie, though. I'm not sure what is the Maximum Overdrive movie. There are so many stories about Stephen King. I know. I lived in Maine for almost 10 years, well, 9 years. It seems like every second person has a story, personal story with Stephen King. I remember one of the girls who lived right next door to me in the dorm, in the room next door. There was a movie out called Thinner in 1996 in the fall, and it was based on the Thinner, the novel of Stephen King, by Stephen King. And we went to the movie, Nickelodeon movie theater in Portland, and that girl Dawn, she was telling us, "Oh, look, it was filmed at my mom's pharmacy up north somewhere," and she actually showed us that pharmacy, that scene. Stephen King in that movie was selling as a pharmacist something, to the main character, and she's like, "That's my mom's place," when we were sitting there like, wow. Lise Dumbrell, thank you so much. Stephen King books are like Aesop's fables, always a moral message. By the way, I have read all of his books and met him too. Wow, where did you meet him, Liz? Don't tell me you met him in Maine. John Liebold, hey, welcome back, John. Have a coffee with Natasha. Will do, will do. Thank you. There are so many new sponsors. Thank you. Hello, hello. Good message today from Geeky College. Dirk, hello again. Long time no see. Good evening from Bavaria. Klaus Zeitler. Reese Gray, it's the only film he ever personally directed and sealed his fate as director. Please look it up for the stream. It's actually quite humorous. Maximum Overdrive. I will do. I know that he appears in every single movie, like a tiny bit part, couple words, a line, or something like that. He likes that. Tony Wilson. I know it's not the best works of Stephen King, but I'm really enjoying the Dark Towers novels. It's actually great. I like Dark Towers. It's hard to say what is the best. In my books, The Stand is number one. It is very close. Um, the latest works, I don't know. Have you read whatchamacallit, Mr. Mercedes or 11/22/63? The revival, they are absolutely awesome. I mean, I don't know, he's better than Russian classics. He writes, he's become such a, like, the landmark writer in the world. It's actually quite unbelievable. Frank, Ludmila, Judas Goat Barbecue. Um, howdy, Judas. The Stand and the Dreamcatchers. The Dreamcatchers is actually excellent book, but the movie was absolutely terrible. John Liebold. Hi, Constantine. I hope you're okay. John, thank you. I am as okay as I can be in this dire situation. When I told in the message, it's absolute true. I feel like I'm living in Stephen King's universe, that all the horrors actually came alive, okay? And I have to make choices now. And I face my fears. I'm facing my fears, okay? I'm facing, this is crazy, so I'm okay. I'm alive. Robert Bates, The Dome. Awesome, awesome. You know what? I feel like I am, and we are, in Russia, are living under the dome. It's actually, Robert, good thinking. I was gonna bring that up. The dome. The closest situation is under the dome. all of a sudden. And you know what? In that novel, the dome actually appeared so instantly, just like in a blink of an eye, just like that, you know. And same thing in Russia. We fell asleep, everything was normal. Well, not so normal, but okay, you know. And then we woke up, and there was Vladimir Putin addressing us on TV, you know, just like the dome. Guido, my favorite author, goes back and forth between Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury. Awesome, awesome authors. Love their works too. Body Church of Constantine. Dan, that's Church of God in session. Genie, it was the scariest fictional book I've ever read. That's pretty scary. Let me tell you, it's pretty scary. Alan Medina, welcome to Inside Russia sponsorship. Thank you, Alan. 2 minutes to midnight. Hello, hello. The Stand is a great book, but not this week. We have COVID at our place. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I wish you recover soon and fast. Yes, The Stand is about the super flu, by the way. Chirper, hi Constantine, fancy meeting you again. Yes, we met with Chirper and Dirk and few other members here at Zangief live stream a couple hours earlier. Sandy, howdy, howdy. Finella Brewer, good evening from Maine's Canadian next door neighbor. Howdy. Yes, I've actually been to very close to the border of Canada, near the White Mountains. The closest town was Sherbrooke. Mama Two Boys, thank you so much. I'm sorry, but I speak with the pace I can speak. I don't. I can't really talk 1.70 times faster. Hello from Ohio, Tonya. Howdy, howdy. Magnus, howdy. If you want to read the comment or to read your question, please put it in caps. Otherwise, I might miss it. El Shakurf, thank you. Konstantin, for sharing your thoughts with us. Brilliant. Thank you. Love to Holland from Russia, from the South Russia. Thank you. BT, I had nightmares after seeing the movie It. I did not. The movie was actually pretty intense. I loved the ending, how they showed it. It's fantastic. Alan, good evening, Constantine. Can I share my local news that might be interesting, not related to SMO? Sure, Alan, go ahead. Thank you, Matthew, for a super chat. Can you see any positivity in the choices you have? That's deep. That's a deep, deep question. I discussed it with my wife today. She's a very wise person. Yes, I see not quite a few, but some possible positivity in the questions. I think that this world, the good outweighs evil. okay? And there is something to be learned and to be gained from every single event that happens, even from the worst, like the bad one, like what is happening in our neighboring country right now. Okay, so yes, I see some positive choices and some positive thoughts about that. The Dead Zone is, in my humble opinion, King's best work. It's excellent. The Dead Zone is excellent, yes. Tony Wilson, Stephen King Hollywood adaptations have been hit and miss, but not too bad. I don't like quite a few of his adaptations. There are so many, I don't even remember which ones. But the books, the movies and the books are different things. For example, take It has actually turned out to be a pretty good movie. Take Dreamcatchers movie, absolutely. The makers of the movie actually missed the point of Stephen King's work. Okay, what else? Right off the bat, Thinner, not the best adaptation. What else? The Gunslinger. Oh my god, I think it was terrible. A couple years ago it came out. It was absolutely terrible. Tim Rogers, is there a Russian equivalent of Stephen King? Nothing I know of. Liz Dumbrell, welcome. Joy. Isabel, hello. Constantine started reading Stephen King at about the same time as you, and yes, I love the universe and his comprehensions of the human sphere, where he was bringing all of us in his book. Thank you so much. So I'm not alone. That's good to know. Friends, I am a very normal guy. I've never had any problems with my mind. All my relatives have had clear minds and normal behavior. Actually, very good people. I have no bad genes in terms of something messed up with my hand. Lately, I started having problems. Sometimes I think that I am alone and isolated, and sometimes there's an opinion, and I think that it's only me. Okay, no one else. So every time I hear that someone else has same opinion, actually soothing, I don't think it's anything wrong with me. I think it's just post-traumatic disorder that I'm having, perhaps mild one, perhaps a light one or whatever. And all this stress, all this craziness, it doesn't go away. It packs. It like adds up every single day. It stores. Sometimes it just spills out in me. In a couple streams, you witnessed. I had the real unusual situations. So every time someone says, "Oh, I have the same opinion as you, were close," that actually is very soothing. So thank you so much. Here in Perth, 2 degrees, John, 2 Celsius. It's like 36 Fahrenheit. You're not mistaken, eh? I thought it's like everlasting summer in Australia. Someone should send this to Mr. King. That'd be nice. Michael Sullivan, thank you. My favorite Mainnah. Ultra Sassy Becca, thank you. $10 says King. Next book is moody thriller about a good-natured video blogger trying to deal with life in Russia. And then some a huge spider crawls out of a corner, and then starts attacking me. Runs a full of horrible curse that manifests in some nasty, colorful way. Yeah. I like the movie Christine. Isn't that about the car? I forgot. I think I watched it a long time ago. By the way, another personal story about I watched a movie called Shawshank Redemption, and that movie was actually one of my favorite movies up to this day. Fantastic work by Morgan Freeman and another fellow, I forgot his name. But anyway, oh my gosh. This is what cinematography is all about, it's good stuff. And I didn't know at the time that the novel was written by Stephen King. And I didn't know where Portland, Maine, where actually everything was taking place, was. I didn't know where some places in that movie were. I had no clue. I was just living in the USSR, in Russia. And then after I came to Maine, after I started learning Shawshank Redemption, I actually read the book. I still love the movie. And I've been to a couple places in that book or in the movie. One of the places I visited specifically was when former Morgan Freeman got out of jail. He went to a certain place it's west of Biddeford, where I lived, not too far. I forgot the name of the town, gosh. But anyway, there was a huge tree, and in the tree was hidden the directions to where the main character, I forgot his name. Anyway, in Mexico, he was somewhere in Mexico, Puerto Rico, whatever. So I went, and actually there's a tree like that. Not the same tree as in the movie, but there's a huge tree. And Stephen King, undoubtedly, he traveled, and he actually saw the tree, and he described it in his work, okay? What is, not Westbrook, but like something like Rumford, Maine, or something like that. It's right out of sight of Biddeford, not too far, where I used to live. Anyway. Norma Mac 83, Stephen is very friendly with his natives. He's very sharing. That's what I heard. I heard that he's a great guy. Everyone who met him was a very high opinion of him. Like I said, every other Mainer has a story about Stephen King. Liz, I met him in Brighton, England, at a horror book conference. Oh, that's pretty cool. Mama Two Boys, Gypsies in Thinner actually spoke in a Romanian language. I remember in that movie, one of the characters actually picks up a telephone booth, right? Public telephone, and it says 9X. And 9X, when I came to Maine, was the local telephone company. And then 9X was acquired at the same year. It was acquired by AT&T. Okay, that's another little detail I remember. Annette, you can't live alone and read Stephen King, not with a good imagination. My wife has never read one book by Stephen King. I was just talking to her before the stream, and she's actually too scared. She has a very, very good imagination, and she doesn't like, horrors. She hasn't seen one horror movie, okay, that she freaks out about them. So she doesn't know. I told her about Stephen King. She knows who he is. She knows how many books he's written. he's a king of horror and so forth, you know. But she hasn't read his books, and she said she doesn't want to. I started telling a couple books. She's like, no, 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 please don't. Geeky Carly's, I'm a bookworm, but I don't read his genre. Well, I read everything. I read absolutely everything I could get my hands on. Soviet, Russian classics, foreign, thrilling stories, horrors, fantasy, science fiction, just whatever, anything. Body, fellow New Englander, I don't detect a Maine accent from you. Hey? Well, obviously I'm Russian, but I can say a few things. I like lobster. Let's go have a beer. You probably detect Russian accent from me. Brother Luke says, hi, Constantine. I agree that Stephen King is also my favorite author. So I also enjoy Anne Rice books for the same reasons that you cited. I am so sorry. I have not read anything of Anne Rice. Tonya Christian, Salem's Lot. Yep. Mateusz Lech. Hello from Poland. I loved your story and allegory of your situation to King's books heroes. To me, Russia now looks like this dark world with Stranger Things. My gosh. You know what, brother? You nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Stranger Things Part 4. I watched a couple series. That's one of the very few. This is among. I watch very few serials, miniseries, because I usually don't have time. I watch very few movies these days. But I like Stranger Things for some reason. And the number one, I think, was the best. Number two, number three, the Russians came in, of course. Yeah. But number four is actually, this is how I feel. I feel my world is becoming that other world of Stranger Things. Okay? Very, very, especially when those kids, anyway, just everything is kind of like burnt and there are ashes flying everywhere and there's darkness and it's quiet and the feelings are numb. That makes two of us. Okay, you're thinking of that from Poland, and I'm thinking about this sitting here in Russia. And let me tell you, this is very sad. It's not a good place to be living in. Furry, my family is from Marblehead, Massachusetts, if that counts. Sure does. Buddy, we hear a Maine accent in Constantine. Yeah, I'm a Mainnah. Tony, I will have to read 11/22/63. That sounds incredible. One of the best works of Stephen King. Just go ahead and read it. So good. I actually read it when I was in Uzbekistan. It just came out 2012, I believe. Wild Wolf Pack. Did you like Cujo? I don't remember. I did read it, but perhaps not one of my favorite works of Stephen King since I didn't really it didn't imprint in my memory. One of my favorite books, the one about the rabbit dog. Yes, I remember. I remember the plot. Battleground, about a man who was sent by a toy soldier, set and then attacked him. Great stuff. Okay. No, that's not new tea. This is same old, same old. Um, it's just I made it a little stronger this time. My friends, such an interesting topic today. Any chance we can do 10 more minutes? Lorna, Mommy, Robert, Bob, Harry. Bommy, 1138, Poe wrote some scary stuff. Yes, that Alan Edgar Poe is one of my most favorite authors as well. A little different though. So, Lorna, Mommy, Bob, what do you say? 10 more minutes. Or you gotta go today. Okay. Lorna says, let's do that. Thank you. Thank you. Clive Baker, the Imagica is great. I'm sure it was surreal being a Stephen King fan and then later living in Maine. Thank you so much, BL Pirog. Thank you for the super chat. You see, it's a little different. It's not like you said. I was not his fan. I didn't even know much about Stephen King. I knew that I read one book, Salem's Lot, and that's it. So book was great. The name Stephen King was kind of in the air. Oh, the guy writes great horrors. That's it. So kind of became his fan. I was fascinated to learn that. You see, when I picked up that book, I still remember the day and how I bought it. I had some extra money. I was actually went to do some basic grocery shopping, milk and butter and bread and stuff. And then there was a like little new kiosk that people were selling everything off, like tiny kiosks, and there were a few books. And Salem's Lot. I picked it up, just read it's about vampires. I'm like, okay, sounds like a good read. So wasn't expensive, and I it was like reading about something that happens on Mars, on another planet. Because I lived in Russia, I lived in a small place all my life. Um, I had spent there pretty much, 18 years of my life. And this book was about a place so far out in the space that, who cares? But when I got to the United States, a couple years after I read the book, okay, and I realized that the author, Stephen King, lived in Maine, basically next door to me. And then, a fellow that I went to school, he had gone to school, high school, with Stephen King's son. And there are so many people who knew Stephen King around me. And I was like, I came to Mars. That's how it felt like. And then I started reading his books, and I fell in love with them. That's more like it. The Thin Man, Liz. I think it's called The Thinner. One of my favorite sci-fi authors is Dmitry Gluchovsky. He's a wanted man in Russia, unfortunately. Have you read his books? Stefan Tsvetnansky. I actually have read his books, and one of his books is actually it's non-fiction. No, it's like autobiography. It's called the very first book he read, Gastarbeiter. There you go. And I actually met, and I know quite well, his publisher. I can't say he's a friend of mine, but the guy who published his first books and discovered Gluchovsky, I know this guy. He also fled Russia a long time ago. He lives in the United States now. But yeah, he's good author. Good books, but not my favorite guy. He's definitely an activist, okay? But he's not in Russia as far as I understand. He's gone. Paul Murray, thank you so much. As a British say, keep that upper lip stiff. Thank you. I'll be trying. Wait, not yet. Not yet. It's actually 4th of July here in Russia. 3 minutes past midnight. Yes, good thinking, Bill. Well, my dear Americans, congratulations. Happy 4th of July. Have another great year. Castle Rock. I was telling Natasha about Castle Rock, about that book. And I was telling her what is the moral question about that book, like that Stephen King brought up in that book. Thank you. Great book. They also made a movie about that, miniseries. They also a movie company called Castle Rock Entertainment. Happy Revolution. I've never heard that before, Douglas. Pacific Rim Overlanders. When is the next members only stream? I'm thinking about tomorrow. Since it's a day off for the Americans, you know. I was too busy today, but definitely let's do it tomorrow for patrons and for sponsors only. Yodi Racer, good to know. And the stand I was reading, I still remember that. I had a night shift, like late at night, and there's plenty of time on my hands. I worked in Old Orchard Beach, summer of '97. Actually, not summer, but spring. And I had two books in my hands. One was the stand. Another one was the dictionary, English Oxford Dictionary. That's a huge book. 1,200 pages, thick. Constantine, look up Tracy, April Tracy chat. Will do. No way. No way. April Tracy. I know Stephen King and could ask if he would do video chat with Constantine. Are you serious? Wow, you know what? That would be just magnificent. Wow. Please do. I don't know what if I could tell him, I would definitely thank him and would say the same thing that I said today. Thanking him for being in Russia for such a long time and thanking for giving us opportunity to actually get acquainted and just enjoy his works. He is #1 selling author among all published authors here in Russia. And I am very sorry that he left. Very, very sorry. And his universe has come alive here in Russia. All kinds of monsters are here, you know. Carmen, have you read The Face by Dean Koontz? I have read something by Dean Koontz. I don't remember. I don't think it was The Face. I if you could tell me his books, I would have remembered, but I would remember, but I don't remember. But anyway, he's a good author too. Wook, thank you so much. Thank you for the insights you share with us and keeping us informed. I cannot recommend any fiction books, but considering you are an economist, I would recommend Currency Wars by James Rickards. Currency Wars. Thank you so much. I definitely will. Let me make a copy of that. Thank you so much. Wook, I appreciate it. I will look it up, definitely. Well, I keep on showing up and keeping you informed as much as I can. Thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Matthew, Castle Rock. Yes, I remember. I answered that. Castle Rock was filmed in Orange, Mass. That's interesting. The Shining. By the way, The Shining is an example of a great adaptation. What a great movie. Jack Nicholson. Oh my gosh. I'm sure all of you have watched The Shining. Pretty scary, too. I watched it. There are two movies by Stephen King I watched. Three movies. No. 4 movies. My gosh. First was The Shining. It was very popular in the US, well, so like Russia, right after Soviet Union fell apart. Then the second was Shawshank Redemption. That was, wow, such a hit. The third one was Langoliers. And the third was Langoliers. And the fourth was the Tommy Knockers. Okay. So I had watched 4 movies before I came to the United States. Some of them I didn't know that they were based on Stephen King's books. You have to watch Misery. That's a must. Dominikash. Is it by Stephen King? I might have missed that. Yes, I did see Christine a long time ago. Very long time ago. Emra Makers, howdy, howdy. Movie was okay. I agree. Movie was, the book was great. Gosh, all his books are great. I don't know, he's got a gift from God or a touch or something. He writes not books, he writes masterpieces, one after one after one. The guy is absolutely fantastic. Faith, interesting, but I'm falling asleep here. Gosh, it's one of those streams I don't want to finish. Misery is also called She. Uh, Angelic at Life. A couple more questions, Robert, and we'll wrap it up. Angelic at Life. What others are pulling out of Russia? Stephen King is the only author so far I've heard pulling out of Russia. Okay, I haven't heard of anyone else. Companies. It's the companies that are pulling out of Russia, but not the companies do it by themselves on their own. The news agencies, such as Deutsche Welle and other ones, were shut down by the Russian authorities. And Stephen King kind of stands alone in between, the companies, large, small, whatever. He's the only actual person, writer, who has announced his decision to not being published in Russia. Tonya Christian, let me write it down. Please don't despair. COVID is serious, but it's not that, it's not like bombing of your house, that type of thing. I've had COVID 4 times. Tonya Christian. Every single person in my family, extended family, every single one has had COVID. Every single one. Michael Sullivan, the last question. Couldn't you still get ebooks? Michael, I kind of forgot to mention that. I was going to say that, but then didn't. Yes, we can. We still can get ebooks, and I can get Stephen King's ebook or book from the United States at any time, pretty much. Through Apple Reads or through Amazon or whatever. I can pay. Well, there are some ways. Let's put it this way. I can, and I will keep on reading Stephen King. Okay. His decision was to not publish any more books here in Russia. We will still have access to the old books. There are, I don't know, millions and millions of his books in paper here in Russia. Ebooks you still can buy. In worst comes to worst, you can, well, I can. I read in English. I don't read Russian books that are translated from English to Russian. So I will keep on reading it. But the thing is, he's made his point. He's made his own personal stand. Okay, and I respect that very much. And I'm very sorry that he was forced to make it. So, my friends, I would like to invite you to a prayer with me. Thank you so much. Bob S. Oh no. Oh no, my gosh. Bob, I'm so sorry. Please join me in prayer, my friends. As usual, I am finishing my stream. Actually enjoyed chatting with you today very much. Yesterday's stream was disaster for my mood, I would say. I will not be doing any more Saturday streams until further notice, but that's going to be quite a while, I'm pretty sure. I just cannot go out and enjoy and see people like sitting peacefully and enjoying their time off and everything is nice, and I just can't do that anymore. But anyway, thank you very much for coming today. Thank you for joining me, and let's pray. Dear God, thank you so much for giving us a good Sunday. Thank you for putting food on our tables, giving us roofs over our heads, surrounding us with people that we love, that we care about, and that care about us and love us. Thank you. Please stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. I am asking you to stop, to help us and help people stop it. I am asking you to reach out and touch the hearts of people who make decisions. Fill them with love, remorse, mercy, forgiveness. Make them softer, so they make decision to stop it. And I'm asking you to reach out and touch the heart of Vladimir Putin, Russian president, and fill it with love, mercy, remorse, compassion, forgiveness, and make it softer, so he makes decision to stop the bloodshed. Please do that. Send help to Ukraine, to Ukrainian people, to everyone who's affected in Ukraine. Please give them strength, answer, hear and answer their prayers. Send angels to every single person who is in need right now. Please help those who helping Ukrainians, opening their homes, doors of their homes, opening their wallets, sending good prayers, wishes. Please help them too. Please help us to raise our children the way that when they grow up, they will make this place, this world a better place, and they will become loving people who will never fight with one another. Please give our children, our parents, and other loved ones good health, and stir away any sickness out of their way. Help my country, Russia. Send an army of strongest angels with sharper swords, led by Saint Michael, to get rid of the demons that have hijacked my country, and make the angels run the country, make it righteous, make it a good neighbor, make it peaceful. Thank you for bringing us into this virtual community that is not virtual anymore. That's a real community, because everyone is sitting at home and participating and praying. Thank you so much for giving opportunity to pray together. Thank you. Please hear and answer everyone's prayer, and make everyone's wishes come true who are in this chat praying with me or listening to us pray. I would like to ask you about a few people. They are Nine Veka, Yelena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie and Igor, Buzz, Anne Mary, Jean-Paul, Paula, Janine, Michael, Susan S., Sabrina, Susan, Fiona, Chirper, Paul, Ellen, Stephen, Michael, Brian, Priscilla, Michelin, Martin, Donald from Wisconsin asking for himself and separately for his country, the United States of America. Bob S., Liz Dumbrell, Bruce B., Ariana, Kayleen, whose husband just passed away and she needs your help. She's left with kids. Michael, Thomas Falil, Tonya, Christian, who is down with COVID. Please help her and her family. And I would like to ask you for 3 children. They are Maverick, Sebastian, and his family. and Britzel Andrews. Please show your miracles. Please help the kids and their families. Please make sure that they are all right, they get better, and they go home. Their families need them home, and the families need miracles. Please help them. Thank you very much. Amen. My friends, happy 4th of July. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Work day for me, but I'll have 3 streams, one for sponsors only. Please come back tomorrow in the afternoon. One for patrons and a regular one with a message. Thank you so much for coming. You are awesome and you rock. And I will see you soon. Hopefully, see you tomorrow.